Just want to test. Yeah, great. Okay. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for being with us. My name is Mark Duffy. I'm the Communications Director for the American Kitchen Cabinet Alliance. And thank you so much all for coming out this morning. It's a great honor to be joined by our distinguished panelists, U.S. Senator from South Dakota, Mike Rounds, CEO and President of Master Woodcraft Cabinetry, Mark Trexler, Stephen Wellborn, Director of Product and Research at Wellborn Cabinet Inc., and Tim Breitbold, the Counsel for AKCA and Partner at Wiley Ryan. Quite frankly, you can't find a more quintessential American industry than the American kitchen cabinet industry, which employs more than 250,000 Americans. And now, just before we jump into remarks, I think I'd like to kick things off by unveiling a short video that lays out what's happening in the industry right now as a result of China not playing by the rules. So I'd ask everyone to turn their attention to the screen, and we'll have a quick intro video, and then we'll kick off the discussion.
We're seeing billions of dollars flow into China from the U.S. in cabinetry specifically every year. 5 years ago, that would have been hundreds of millions of dollars. Now it's billions of dollars. It's speeding up rapidly, the erosion of our business, and we need to do something quickly in order to stop it from happening.
China in the last few years are beginning to dominate the cabinet market the same as they done to the furniture business back in the 1980s.
41 years ago, if you'd have told me that furniture would actually go away in the United States, I would have said you guys are crazy. When China decides they want an industry in the United States, they don't play fair.
What is happening? How is China making product so cheap? They're getting subsidized from the Chinese government. The Chinese government is providing raw material to the Chinese manufacturer. They're dumping all this product into the U.S. market. So our dealers are now buying from China, which is a lot cheaper product and still compatible to our quality, and now we don't have the business anymore.
The problem when China comes in and sets its sights on the market, they undersell the price so low that it's so hard for the domestic industry to compete. And our industry is being attacked by China right now, and the threat is extremely real. And all we're asking is the commerce to look at it and give us a fair shake and level the playing field so our employees can have an opportunity to compete in this market. If something's not done shortly, this industry will go away just as other industries have in America.
If you look, there have been many cabinet companies closed over the past few years. Second shifts have been eliminated, the workforces have been reduced. Here at Master Woodcraft, our business from 2018 to 19 is down over 7%. My employees have experienced 32-hour work weeks, 36-hour work weeks.
We had 2,200 employees working for us. Today we only have 1,300. I've seen a major decline in business. The one thing that concerns me is our dealers are, all of a sudden they stop ordering. We're asking them why. And what they're telling me is they can buy stuff a whole lot cheaper from China.
We went from 2,200 employees down to 1,300 employees. We went from 16,000 cabinets a week down to 10,000 cabinets a week. We went from 70 trucks a week leaving down to 50 trucks a week. We need help, we need action, and we need it now.
First of all, I've been in the cabinet business for like 25 years. It's my family's livelihood. My husband worked in the cabinet business, and this is what I do. I live, sleep, Master Woodcraft. I think I order parts in my sleep.
If it was not because of this job, I would never completed my college degree. I'm almost done paying for my school, because of this job and the opportunity they gave me.
So everybody in my family has worked here. My mom and dad, brothers and sisters at least one time.
I don't know what my family would do. Everything that we have has come from us working at Wellborn Cabinet.
I think growing up, I've always thought that, coming here every day, that I would grow up here, I would work here for years and years to come, and even my children and their children, the company would just always be here. And you do sometimes take advantage of that, but now that China has come in and tried to take that from us, it's sad because you don't know what the future holds.
It's more than just a job, it's an extension of our family. I was actually happy that my daughter was able to work here. I actually have 4 grandsons and 1 granddaughter, and I would like maybe for some of them to work here one day. But because of China's cheating, I'm not sure there will be a job here. for my grandchildren.
Just a year ago, we ran 2 shifts on this line that's behind me now. We've had to lay off that whole shift because we just simply doesn't have the work to perform.
If the hours keep dropping and keep dropping, it's gonna hurt me and my family and my coworkers.
I can say that our cabinet industry is the backbone of our community. It's our strength, and it provides a lot of things outward. And if you think about the backbone, it holds you upright.
Any reduction of manufacturing in our community would have a devastating effect upon our local area because they employ local people. Over 900 jobs are represented, over $190 million in sales in our local economy, $51 million in earnings. And as you can see, in a rural area, that would have a devastating effect on our economy.
If Ashland lost the kitchen cabinet industry, we would have to cut government services. It would just be awful here.
We don't want that. We want them to continue to flourish. They do a great job. Homegrown companies, people that started here, grew up here, love the community, give back to the community. We want them to continue to be able to survive.
So it's not just something that happens here at Wellborn, it's industry-wide. You know, we've got to combat it all the way through the marketplace. You know, it affects every manufacturer around. I mean, there's over 250,000 people who are employed in the cabinet industry just from cabinet manufacturers. And we need to ensure that those 250,000 people have a job next year or the year after.
If I had the opportunity to say one thing to President Trump, we need your administration to take action.
Yeah, I'd say to President Trump, thank you for what you're doing. We need action on the China deal to keep America great.
My biggest fear one day is to pull into the parking lot and it's empty.
The American kitchen cabinet industry is being decimated by China. We need action, and we need it now.
Give us a level playing field, and we will do the best to create many more jobs and continue growing like this company has grown before. Because these people in this company, they're responsible for making this company what it is today, and I thank God for them.
Powerful stuff. I think that the video really puts a human face on the more than 250,000 American workers who are very fearful about the future due to China's unfair trade practices. While our first speaker is well known to us all, I'd like to take a moment to introduce U.S. Senator Mike Rounds. Senator Rounds was sworn into the United States Senate in 2015. The senator serves on 4 committees. He serves on Senate Armed Services, Banking, Housing and Urban Affairs, Veterans Affairs, and Environment and Public Works. The senator previously served as the 31st governor of South Dakota from 2001 to 2011, and from 91 to 2000 he was elected 5 times to the South Dakota Senate. In 95, his colleagues actually elected him to be Senate Majority Leader in South Dakota. Senator Rounds is a great friend of Showplace Cabinetry in South Dakota and the American kitchen cabinet industry. And Senator Rounds actually mentioned to me that when he was governor, he installed I think it was the Showplace Cabinetry in the governor's residence. So he's a very true friend of the industry and of South Dakota workers. So, Senator, it's a great honor to invite you to deliver your remarks here today.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to share my thoughts with you. Let me just suggest this. It's unfortunate that we have to have a news conference and a discussion about something that should be common sense in nature. Trade negotiations with China continue to be at the top of people's minds, especially in places like South Dakota. That may surprise folks on the coast, but South Dakota has a real impact because of what happens in China and our trade negotiations with China. Whether you're talking about the ongoing trade negotiations or ongoing unfair trade practices, or in some cases, straight out theft. South Dakota's manufacturers and agricultural producers are at the tip of a spear when it comes to trade with China. Not only do you have 250,000 South Dakota or U.S. workers that are impacted by these negotiations, specifically with regard to this particular industry, but in a place like South Dakota where we have 830,000 individuals living, citizens, we've got hundreds of jobs that are directly reliant on this particular industry. So it's not just a matter of being on the coasts or in the big states. Small states are impacted by this as well. For the past 2 years, President Trump has brought to the attention of the American public the unfair trade practices that have been occurring with regard to China. China is a major player throughout the world in trade activities. And in many cases, they have had advantages that have been built in, and even with those built-in advantages, examples are our tariffs on Chinese goods coming in average about 4%, and yet over the years, they've averaged about a 10% tariff on our products going into China. But that hasn't been enough to satisfy them. In many cases, they have flaunted international law, and they have taken the approach that not only do they want those advantages, but they have treated their trading partners with disdain and with disrespect. Best example is the way that they treat intellectual property. International law clearly recognizes the ability of organizations and individuals to own intellectual property. But that has not been part of the Chinese culture. And because of that, they have told us on multiple occasions that they simply have had a difficult time in getting their businesses to respect that. And they want more time. We think they've had enough. They steal our intellectual property. And in doing so, they take an unfair advantage. But it's not just that. They also make unfair trade practices a regular practice when it comes to specific industries. These particular folks that are up here with us want to share with the rest of the country that when it comes to kitchen cabinetry, we have a very good business practice in the United States, a competitive practice with lots of different small organizations that want to not only create new ideas, but to be able to compete. But when the Chinese government subsidizes unfairly their businesses to compete elsewhere and then dumps those products in other countries, the idea is pretty clear. What they really want to do is to run our businesses out of business. They want to control the market. That's not a fair trade practice, and it cannot be tolerated. President Trump has made it very clear that his administration is not going to allow it and that they want fair trade practices to be the hallmark of this administration. It's not going to be easy to get done. China has, over literally decades, continued this practice, and it's going to take time, but it has to be stopped. We want them to trade. We want them to trade fairly. We want them to become good members of the international community, but we cannot tolerate these unfair trade practices any longer. This particular industry, the kitchen cabinets industry within the United States, is at risk, just like others are, and we feel it. And it's not just in the big states, it's in the little states as well. That's the reason why we're here today, is to draw attention to it. And we believe that not only do we have to follow the legal recourses, but we have to draw public attention to the fact that it's not just certain areas of industry. And this is an ongoing process which has been going on for years. And this administration has done a very good job of drawing attention to it. And we want to continue that attention. We want to resolve it, and we want to have fair trade where our producers have a fair fight when it comes to competition throughout the world. With that, I thank you for bringing it to the attention of the American public, and hopefully this is a next positive step in resolving the issue, and we can have good trade practices with all other countries, including China, in the future.
Thank you, Senator Rounds. Really appreciate your informative and thought-provoking remarks, and really appreciate your leadership on this issue for thousands of South Dakota families. Next, we have Mark Trexler, who's the President and CEO of Master Woodcraft Cabinetry. Previously, Mark served as President and COO at Master Woodcraft since February 2012. Master Woodcraft has plants in Marshall, Texas and Jefferson, Texas, where they employ over 500 great American workers. And AC Products, ACPI, they acquired Master Woodcraft in June of 2018, and they have over 5,000 employees. And Mark is also the Executive Vice President and COO of ACPI. So, Mark, I invite you to introduce yourself.
All right, good morning. Thank you for the kind introduction. My name is Mark Trexler, and I am the President and CEO of Master Woodcraft Cabinetry. And like you mentioned, I'm also Speaking here today is Executive Vice President and the Chief Operating Officer of the AKCA Products. That's a group of 5 cabinet companies, and also is a founding member of the American Kitchen Cabinet Alliance. It is an honor to be with you today. Quite frankly, you can't find a more quintessential American industry than the American kitchen cabinet industry. My company, Master Woodcraft Cabinet, is an employee, family, and community-oriented company based in Northeast Texas. Master Woodcraft thrived as a family-owned company and grew further and faster in their first 10 years of operation than any other startup company, cabinet company in America. And this was all during the great construction downturn between 2009 and 2011. At Master Woodcraft, we employ over 500 great Americans. We have state-of-the-art facilities in Marshall and Jefferson, Texas. Our values are simple. We're committed to crafting excellent. Our products are made here, made well, made sustainably, and made by family. To me, our workers are like family, and every one of them participates in monthly profit sharing. In 2018, Master Woodcraft joined AKCA Products, which has 5 companies with approximately 5,000 employees nationwide. We have 11 facilities spread out across the country. Not to mention there are tens of thousands of auxiliary jobs our companies support across the United States. Every day I try to make it a practice of walking the shop floor of our factories. And time again, people will stop me and say, hey, what's going on with the trade case? What are we doing about making this a fair case? Because my workers see the news, they see these stories, and them and their extended families, they worry about the clear and present danger of China's cheating and what it poses to our way of life. Most of these cabinet companies are in rural areas across the country, and that's what the communities thrive on. It pays the taxes, it employs a lot of people, it pays for fire protection, police protection, EMS. But Chinese exports of kitchen cabinets to the U.S. are up by more than 75% since 2015. That doesn't happen without massive Chinese government subsidies and other unfair trading practices. China is taking advantage of the American consumers and American workers by dumping their product into the U.S. market. To put it simply, Chinese manufacturers are exporting products to the United States at well below normal pricing. Their goal is to drive the competition out, take total control of the market, so that the Chinese can dictate the price and quality. Over the last several years, dumped and subsidized imports of cabinets and vanities from China have surged into the U.S. market and are harming the American industry. Recently, I calculated the revenue and jobs Master Woodcraft lost to Chinese imports, just one of the 5 companies. The numbers were shocking. From 2014 to date, the total revenue we've lost to Chinese imports is well over $40 million, and that's just for Master Woodcraft. With this revenue loss, we had to let go a total of 83 workers during the period. In 2018 alone, we lost over $10 million in revenue in 21 big projects. We make multifamily cabinets for the apartment industry, so these are big jobs. We're talking 300-400 apartments, so a lot of cabinets. But we lost these jobs to unfairly priced Chinese imports. But for instance, from 2017 to 2018, our business dropped 7%. And just year to date in 2019, we've lost approximately 3 million jobs directly to the Chinese imports due to price. And during the very first quarter of this year, last year, our people were working 36-hour and 32-hour weeks because of jobs that we could have been running in this country. For another one of our companies, Cabinets 2000, which is located in Norwalk, California, and sells to the California market, their business is down over 48% year to date because of the construction business and stuff has slowed down, and we're just not getting the jobs. The Chinese imports take these jobs from them every day. And I'm even aware of a few U.S. manufacturers that have been driven out of business completely, such as Wood Pro Cabinetry in Missouri, Custom Wood Products, Roanoke, Virginia. We had, Well, we had Woodmode in Pennsylvania. I was getting them mixed up. That was over 900 jobs at Woodmode that was recently when they closed. So, you know, all of these producers, some of them have shuttered facilities, some of them have gotten rid of second shifts, but despite a strong market, factories are not growing and business is not booming as a result of China not playing by the rules. I worked in the furniture industry the first 22 years of my career, and where I've been in the cabinet industry the last 18 years. The reason I'm in the cabinet industry is the furniture industry disappeared due to what happened with China taking off the furniture business. They took the textile business. Being from North Carolina, we saw the hosiery business disappear, but the furniture business was king, and those plants are shuttered. You saw it on the video. So I'm here today because I don't want to see China destroy the cabinet industry like where I previously worked and destroy another 250,000 American jobs, because we're here for these American workers. That is what we're trying to protect. My workers, they're the best, and we can compete with anyone as long as the playing field is level. We're just simply asking for a level playing field, and if given the opportunity, U.S. producers of cabinets and vanities can absolutely compete in a fair market. However, we simply cannot compete with the Chinese imports that are surging into the U.S. market at dumped and subsidized pricing. So unless we can do something about the continued surge of the unfairly priced Chinese imports, I'm certain the U.S. cabinet industry and the vanities will follow just like it happened with furniture and textile industries, and they'll disappear. I've seen it with my own eyes, and on behalf of the 500 plus Master Woodcraft employees and the 5,000 employees of AC Products, you know, I'm here to say that we don't want to see China destroy this industry and the loss of at least 250,000 American jobs. And the way I look at it, there's basically 4 people in a family. So you're talking million people that get affected. So we need to do what it takes to protect this industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for your insightful remarks. Next, we have Stephen Wellborn. Stephen serves as Director of Product and Research for Wellborn Cabinet Inc. It's a family-owned and operated company, began in 1961. It's based in Alabama. The great founder of the company, Mr. Paul Wellborn, is also with us here today. And Wellborn provides kitchen and bath cabinets crafted by dedicated Wellborn employees with the utmost quality and care. And it's a great employer in Alabama. So, Stephen, it's an honor to invite you to deliver your brief remarks.
Good morning. My name is Stephen Wellborn. I'm the Director of Product Research Development for Wellborn Cabinet. I'm also a founding member of the American Kitchen Cabinet Alliance, and it's great to be here with you today. The Wellborn family has been making cabinets for nearly 60 years. My father founded Wellborn in 1961 in Ashland, Alabama, and we started out with a 3,200 square foot building, manufacturing kitchen and bath cabinets. Today we're still in Ashland, but we have almost 2 million square feet. A facility that we manufacture a wide range of cabinet products. We're the largest employer in Ashland. In the surrounding area, we're a completely vertically integrated operation. Timber enters our sawmill and then leaves Wellborn as a finished cabinet. This allows us to control the entire cabinet making process and ensure the quality and craftsmanship that we're known for today. My father, my mother, my wife, my daughters, my son, brothers, sisters, cousins, extended family work in the business. Wellborn is truly a family business. We have 1,300 employees that are part of our extended family. So we have multi-generational families that have worked with us for nearly 60 years, and we provide great benefits to all their employees, such as medical staff on site, a doctor and a nurse practitioner on a weekly basis that they can see at no charge, on-site cafeteria for staff, and we have also built a daycare on site for the working families and mothers that need care for their children. We're an American company and take extraordinary pride in producing high-quality American cabinets. We're proud of the tens of thousands of indirect jobs that Wellborn supports. We make it a priority to give back to our local schools, churches, and volunteer activities in our communities. All of us at Wellborn, from my father, Paul, who founded the company, down to our workers on the front lines, are extremely concerned about the surge of Chinese cabinets imports flooding our shores. The Chinese product is undercutting U.S. pricing, with finished cabinets import prices in most cases 20 to 60% less than the U.S. prices and less than the cost of materials for the U.S. producers. The volume and the market share of Chinese cabinets imports are rapidly increasing and have reached well over 40% of the market. since 2015. China has increased its imports of kitchen cabinets into the United States by more than 75%. To put it simply, the American kitchen cabinet manufacturers cannot compete with these unfair prices. Our dealers used to be able to sell American cabinets, but the Chinese cabinets we see in the market today are priced so low that it's difficult for the domestic dealers to sell our products, and American products which are priced fairly and of high quality. There should be a strong market for the U.S. cabinet producers. There's a strong demand in the United States for cabinets right now. New home construction has increased approximately 21% since 2016. At the same time, remodeling expenditures have increased approximately 6% each year. Simply put, the domestic industry should be doing a lot better right now, but we're not, and I can tell you that it's because of Chinese imports. It's not clear to me how China cabinets can come into the United States at such low prices. Excuse me. We see imports of Chinese excuse me. We see imports of Chinese cabinets priced almost as low as our cost of plywood to produce that same type of cabinet. It makes no sense. China's cheating is having a devastating impact on our business and the livelihoods of all of our employees. At Wellborn, we have gone from producing 16,000 cabinets a week to 10,000 cabinets a week. We have gone from 70 trucks of cabinets leaving every week to 50 trucks. Most importantly, we have gone from 2,200 employees to 1,300 employees. China's cheating is having a real impact on the American kitchen cabinet industry and represents a serious threat to our survival. Wellborn is proud to be a part of the largest trade case ever filed against China in the International Trade Commission and Department of Commerce to save 250,000 jobs, American jobs. While there is still much more work to do, investigations have formally been initiated by the agencies at the ITC has issued a unanimous preliminary affirmative determination of material injury to the domestic industry by the reason of imports from China. It's very important to note that the Wellborn plant is in the heart of rural Alabama, and we are truly the backbone of our local community. And our 1,300 jobs in kitchen cabinet industry went away. The nearest larger employer would be over 40 miles away. The vast majority of these, more than 250,000 American kitchen cabinet jobs, are in America's heartland. If these more than 250,000 jobs go away, the impact would be devastating for local workers and their families. We are all for free trade, but it must be fair trade. What China is doing to the American kitchen cabinet industry is not fair. My family and our 1,300 employees make the best product in the world, and we can compete with anyone on a level playing field. On behalf of Wellborn, I'm here today to ask Washington to level the playing field and to stand for the 250,000 American jobs in our industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you for your remarks. I really appreciate it. Finally, I'd like to introduce Tim Brightbill. Tim is the counsel for AKCA, and he's a partner at Wiley Ryan, one of the great DC law firms. Tim represents clients on all aspects of international trade law and policy, including trade remedies and trade negotiations. And he's also been an adjunct professor at Georgetown Law Center for 16 years. So Tim graduated from Northwestern, and he obtained his JD from Georgetown University. So Tim, delighted to have you deliver your remarks to the group here today.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks everyone for being here today. I thought I'd give 3 or 4 overview points and then go through a little bit about where we stand in the legal case right now, and then we'll get to the questions. So just some things to keep in mind as we're talking today. First, this is one of the largest trade cases ever filed against China. It affects somewhere between $2 billion and $4 billion worth of imports. That's an extremely large case. Secondly, this case also affects a huge number of U.S. workers. You've already heard 250,000 jobs at risk. It's a massive American industry located largely in the heartland, so the stakes are very high. Third, these are not trade war tariffs that we're asking for. Anti-dumping duties and countervailing duties are permissible, and they're recognized under U.S. law and under World Trade Organization law and rules. Our trading partners also use these trade remedies laws as well. So it's a legal process, and one that we're very confident will succeed at the end. Fourth, I think it's important to know that many U.S. consumers don't even know that they're buying Chinese kitchen cabinets and wooden vanities for their homes. You heard 40% market share. A lot of these products, most of these products, are brought here in ready-to-assemble flat packs in a box that may say made in China, but then the box is open, the cabinets are assembled, and they're delivered to customers and the companies that do this have very innocent sounding names. Some of them advertise assembled in the U.S., designed in the U.S., but they're made in China. So again, keep those things in mind as I go through where we're at in the trade case. The American Kitchen Cabinet Alliance led a multi-year effort to try and address these unfair trade practices. We filed anti-dumping and countervailing duty petitions in early March of this year. So we're about a third of the way through the case. This alliance represents a majority of the domestic industry. The anti-dumping petition alleged China dumping here in the United States at margins of more than 175%. And the countervailing duty or subsidy petition identified more than 35 subsidy programs that have benefited the Chinese cabinet and vanity industries. Things like grants, discounted loans, discounted raw materials and wood, land, electricity, the list goes on and on. For the trade lawyers in the room, you know this already, and the reporters, but this happens at two agencies, the Commerce Department and the International Trade Commission. The Commerce Department determines whether imports are dumped and or unfairly subsidized and calculates the duty rates. The International Trade Commission decides whether the imports have materially injured the U.S. industry. We've already won a unanimous preliminary determination of material injury on April 19th of 2019. And importantly, in that decision, the Commission made some key findings. They found a single like product that covers not just kitchen cabinets, but all wooden cabinets and vanities. So it's not based on rooms in the house, it's any wooden cabinet and vanity. They also found that the volume of subject imports was very significant and that those imports have had huge negative effects on the domestic industry. Where we're at in the case is that the Commerce Department will now decide preliminary subsidy rates on or before August 5th, 2019. They will then make preliminary anti-dumping determinations, which are expected in early October 2019. At that point, cash deposits will be collected from importers bringing in wooden cabinets and vanities from China. And then there will be final anti-dumping and countervailing determinations from Commerce expected very early next year, 2020. Just a couple of the key facts. Some have already been mentioned by Mark and by Stephen. The Chinese imports have increased by 75% since 2015. That is a huge surge of imports, and they've taken market share. So in a market that is growing, these companies should be thriving. They should be doing very well. Instead, they're losing market share, and they're losing it directly to these dumped and subsidized Chinese imports. The Commission has found that Chinese imports compete head-to-head with these domestic products in substantially all of the U.S. market, and they consistently, we also believe they consistently undersell the domestic product as well. Again, if you look at the import levels, the official import statistics, they show for cabinets and vanities an estimated value of more than $4 billion in Chinese imports in 2018. And the Chinese imports took more than 7 percentage points of market share from the U.S. market by quantity and about 5 points by value. So for China to already have 40% of the market and growing is a demonstration of the injury that's occurring here. The domestic industry's financial performance has suffered. Demand is up nearly 15%. But despite the strong demand, it's the dumped and subsidized imports that are taking the market. And as a result, the performance of these companies and some of the other ones here today has suffered. Capacity utilization is down. Operating and net profits are down. U.S. producers have closed facilities. They've lost employees. Some have gone bankrupt. And this harm has intensified in the last year and a half. And this is with a good economy, so imagine what would happen if there should be a downturn of some sort. So I think I'll stop there. Happy to answer some other questions as we get farther in about where the case stands and what's coming next. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Yeah, so I think we'll just take a couple of minutes for Q&A with the group here, and then we'll open it up to audience questions. So firstly, I think for Mark Trexler, Mark, you mentioned that Cabinets 2000, the division of ACPI, your business is down by over 48%. I mean, that is devastating for any company, business down by 48%. What other trends have you seen for Master Woodcraft or ACPI in the first quarter in terms of the impact China's having?
Yeah, we continue to lose jobs, whether it's Master Woodcraft and it's the multifamily apartment grade cabinet or cabinets we make at LK or AC products that are single family. And, some of it is hard to trace, like we lose a lot to the dealers and you don't know you actually lost it because you're not able to track the sale. But I can tell you at Master Woodcraft, I've kept up with every job we've lost since about 2012. And since we bid everything, we know what our price is, and then we know who we lose it to. And when we're losing these jobs, they're not by just a small amount. I mean, I'll give you a quick example. Let's say I had this job in I think it was Jacksonville or Orlando, Florida, a couple of years ago, and 300 apartments. We bid $500,000 to supply the cabinets. Well, the Chinese came in, and they were well below $400,000. Now, some people say, oh, well, China has cheaper labor. Well, my labor is a little over 10% of the cabinets. So let's take the $50,000 off the $500,000. We're at $450,000. They're buying the same lumber and logs that U.S. companies do. They ship it to China. They make these cabinets, and they're able to ship it back 40 or 50% below my cost. And if I had robots building it with none, they're still killing us. So we see that over all the areas. Southern California, it's been a port of entry. It's been a big area for the RTAs, and experiencing what happened in High Point, North Carolina. And when this started in this industry, I have said, hey, the guys that run the cabinet industry have got to stand up for the American worker. The guys that run the furniture industry waited way too long to do it, and now those jobs are gone. And it's very evident. So, we want to protect our jobs.
Absolutely. And for Stephen, I know really a point that struck me, you mentioned that, you're down now, you used to produce 16,000 cabinets a week, you're back to 10. You had 70 trucks leaving every week, you're down to 50, and 2,200 employees, and you're down to 1,300. So China is obviously having a devastating impact on your business. Can you speak to that and your employees' concerns about the future?
Thanks, Mark. Back to the video you've seen, some of those are our employees. When we ask, because our employees are very concerned about this, they're aware of what's going on. We ask a few people who would want to be involved. We filled a room up with people who were willing to speak on that video. I mean, that's how concerned they are about this. They've seen devastation from the Chinese imports, and we've explained, we've been open to them. But it's hard when you walk on a factory floor. Part of my responsibility is making sure we are efficient in our equipment. I've purchased most all the equipment in the last 30 years, and making sure we've got the best technology to produce with. But as Mark said, there's nothing out there that you can be efficient enough to compete with China when they're. You could take your labor cost and material cost to zero, and they're still under you in the market. It is absolutely because of Chinese dumping. If that's not fixed, our industry, the video that you've seen of the furniture plants were real buildings. And those jobs are gone. I've walked through some of those buildings. Some of the worst things you can do is go through a manufacturing plant that used to be a thriving, hustling, bustling, full of jobs, families, local communities, and it's shuttered. We don't want to see that happen. We're here on behalf of our employees, but also on behalf of, and there's other cabinet manufacturers in the room, and that's who we're standing up for. We were quite frankly tired of it.
So, thank you, Stephen. Tim, could you just give us a greater sense maybe about the injury? You've mentioned some of the impact it has, but what are the next steps in the process with the Department of Commerce and ITC?
Sure. Well, on the injury front, again, the legal test is you have to show that the dumped and subsidized Chinese imports are at least a cause of material injury to the domestic industry. They don't have to be the only cause, but they have to be a cause of injury. Well, the injury has taken all kinds of forms. You saw them in the video. You've heard them from Mark and Stephen. You can talk to the other companies that are here today. But Woodmode, with 900 jobs lost, has filed for trade adjustment assistance. You only receive trade adjustment assistance if the jobs are lost due to imports. There are other leading U.S. companies that have put their cabinet divisions up for sale. It's another sign of injury. Many other companies that would be well known to everyone in this room that are suffering shifts reduced, workers laid off, and financial harm, variety of all sorts of harm. So the next steps, again, we're less than a month away from the first duties coming into place. That's the subsidy duties, preliminary duties only. That's the first point where cash deposits will be collected on goods coming in that amount. And then we'll have anti-dumping duties in early October, and then in the fourth quarter of this year is when the final phase injury investigation will really begin at the International Trade Commission, with questionnaires going out to the various companies, including foreign producers, including purchasers. And we're really looking forward to making our case there and demonstrating the harm that has happened to this industry.
Absolutely. I know, Stephen, suppose what would your message be to Senator Rounds and our congressional leaders? You know, what would you like to see from Washington? What type of action would you like to see?
You know, like I said, the American manufacturers are some of the most efficient manufacturers in the world, and we can compete. Just the domestic industry in and of itself is an extremely competitive market. I mean, we compete with each other on a daily basis, and it's very challenging. But when a country is allowed to come in and undersell an industry, they've got one single goal in mind, and that is to destroy this industry until it is gone, and then prices will go up. I would ask Senator Rounds in Washington to stop that from happening. Protect the American worker. That's what this is about here. Jobs will go away if something is not done. There's influences that they can do. The ITC, the commerce, we know that's where this is all at now. And I think when the truths are looked at in the data seen, you know, this case will prevail. But this it's a huge deal when you see the people on that video are real. I mean they're concerned just like we're concerned.
Absolutely. And I know, Mark, you have kind of unique experience having spent, you know, a lot of time in the furniture industry. I suppose, are you concerned about the future? And, you know, if nothing changes, where do you see the kitchen cabinet industry in 5 years?
Well, I mean, if nothing changes in 5 years, this 40% of the cabinets that they have market, they won't stop. They'll get up to 100%. I mean, it's just a matter of time. Once the snowball starts going, they continue to pick up market share, and then the companies that are healthy become weak, and then as they become weaker, they couldn't even fight this case. So, you know, in 5 years, the battle's over.
And then, Tim, I suppose, how is this case similar to the other types of Chinese trade cases you worked on, which is solar and steel? What type of trends do you see, and what type of remedies then obviously might be the best fit?
Well, there are some similarities. I think what we see time and again from China is government intervention where there are subsidies and other forms of distortive practices. That leads to overcapacity in China. One of the things that the Commission has found already is that there's massive available capacity to supply even more than what they've already supplied. And there are also huge inventories here in the United States just sitting and ready to take away U.S. sales. So you see that sort of movement time and again from Chinese industries. The subsidies lead to overcapacity, lead to dumping, and then lead to injury to the U.S. industry. I also think this is a good example of China moving up the value chain. So, you know, 10 years ago, China was dumping steel. Now they're dumping steel-containing products, wind towers, fabricated bridges, and things like that. Same thing. China started off by dumping the wood, hardwood plywood, a case I worked on recently. Now they've moved up the value chain to the kitchen cabinets. So it's a pattern that unfortunately we've seen time and time again over the years. I will say that this case is different in a couple of ways. I highlighted one, which is many more jobs. I mean, 250,000 jobs is huge for a domestic trade case. And also, as I mentioned, this is a consumer product where the customer maybe is unaware that it's a Chinese product they're looking at. I mean, when many of you came to work today, you probably went by a dealer, a kitchen and bath dealer, and what they carry is the Chinese ready-to-assemble product, and they'll carry a U.S. line. So they compete head-to-head, they compete side-by-side. When they get to somebody's homes, the cabinets don't necessarily say made in China, but China's won the competition because it's selling for 20 to 60% less than the comparable U.S. product. And that's not because the Chinese cabinets are that much cheaper, it's because of unfair trade practices.
Absolutely, I think you're spot on. So we have I know we're a little bit tight on time, but we're happy to open up for a couple of audience questions, Q&A. So if there's any reporters in the room, we have a handheld mic here. So anyone has questions, happy to touch on that very briefly. Sure. Well, let's start with Reuters, is it? Yeah. Okay. Happy to.
Thank you. Jonas Ekblom from Reuters. I was just curious, Mr. Brightbill, about the identification of 35 subsidy programs. Can you talk a bit about like what kind of programs they are and?
Sure. Yeah, really, the number of subsidy programs ranges the gamut. It's it's all aspects of production. So some of it is just grants, grants to companies in specific regions or specific provinces of China. There can also be distortion due to specific export subsidies, export-import subsidies that directly encourage Chinese industries to export product, not just to make it, but to export it somewhere else. You've also got state-owned and state-controlled banks in China, so there's a lot of discounted lending that goes on. And then you've got everything from the wood itself that is subsidized, all the raw materials that go into a cabinet or vanity, discounted electricity, discounted land, other discounted raw materials. So it's a long list of subsidy programs. It's very familiar to anyone who's worked on these kind of trade cases before.
Okay, absolutely. So any other questions? Yeah, absolutely. This young lady here.
Ryan Har from Bloomberg. I was wondering if you have any concern about Taiwan taking China's place as a low-cost producer.
Well, obviously there are concerns whether it be Taiwan, Cambodia, Vietnam, that it's been practiced in the past where these industries do move, and they move some of it just to circumvent the tariffs. You know, sometimes they'll move it and it still was made in China. So, you know, we would expect them to look at other countries. Sure.
I'd like to add to that, we prepare for that fight also.
Yeah.
We're not going away.
And I'll just highlight, we've seen this in other cases too, where the product continues to be made in China, but it gets shipped through a third country, whether it's Vietnam or Malaysia or Cambodia. You know, the box gets changed, the label gets changed, maybe even a little bit of minor processing to the product, but it's still a Chinese cabinet. The scope of this case particularly covers Chinese wooden cabinets and vanities, even if they are minor processed in a third country. So even if they're painted somewhere else or cut somewhere else or finished somewhere else, it's still a Chinese product subject to this case. But unfortunately, the cheating starts early in these trade cases, and we'll have to monitor it very closely.
Absolutely. So I think we've one more question, and then we're going to cut to a video. Does anybody else? Sure.
Yes, Mark Boschetti from Congressional Quarterly. You indicated that a lot of this product is shipped flat to the U.S. in containers, but most consumers don't buy it and assemble the cabinets, I assume. So there must be some kind of an industry here that's actually assembling this stuff. Could you explain how that works, please?
Yes, most of the importers that are bringing in the product, as you say, is a flat pack or unassembled, and they do that just for shipping costs. I mean, you'd be shipping a lot of air if you ship it assembled. So they ship it and they warehouse it here, and when the consumer or dealer orders it, they have an assembly line to put the cabinets together, and they leave the factory just like ours leaves our factory, assembled on a semi or some type of a freight carrier. And just to put that in perspective, what that turns into, if we took our 1,300 employees that we have in our company and we became an assembler of Chinese cabinets, those 1,300 jobs would turn into about 150. That's the ratio that you lose when you lose the domestic manufacturing.
Yeah, a lot of these companies are vertically integrated. You know, our companies start with the rough mill where we're cutting the lumber. We make our own doors. We make our own face frames and stuff. And the amount of labor it takes to assemble them is 1 or 2% of the cost of the cabinet max. So, you know, the flat pack is just a transportation mode, how to get the stuff here. The assembly part is a very insignificant part of the process. Obviously, we're buying all the raw materials here, and we're having the labor here, and none of that takes place in this country when you assemble it. You just have some people putting them together.
And the key point is that it's still head-to-head competition, even though the Chinese product comes in this unassembled form. You know, a dealer offers the Chinese price and the U.S. price, and those are both for assembled when they show up to the customer's home. So unfortunately, there's companies here in the U.S. whose business model is built on assembling Chinese cabinets. The question is, does America want to be a manufacturer of cabinets and vanities, or do we want to assemble Chinese products? I think the answer is very clear.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you all. I think if one thing that has come across here in today's remarks is that the American kitchen cabinet industry is most definitely the backbone of many of these communities across America's heartland. And I think it's imperative that the ITC and Commerce really stand up for American workers. And I think, as Stephen mentioned, China now controls more than 40% of the market. And if something doesn't change real fast, the industry is probably soon going to cease to exist. So I think American kitchen cabinet workers need some action from Washington, and they really need it now. So to close, I'd like to show a very short video narrated by a great American patriot and great friend of ours, Governor Mike Huckabee, which kind of gives a quick overview of what's going on and the next steps forward.
Cabinet making is one of America's oldest and proudest professions, dating back to the founding of our great nation. Manufacturing is the backbone of communities across our country. The American kitchen cabinet industry has supported generations of American families with good, honest paying work. Every day, proud American men and women rise with the sun and head to cabinet-making facilities across America's heartland, producing quality cabinetry used by millions of families every day. But now, thanks to Chinese cheating, China has been able to capture an unfair portion of the market, with over 250,000 American jobs hanging in the balance. Without bold and decisive action by our leaders in Washington, this iconic American industry will slowly die. Tell Washington to stand up for American jobs, to stand up for the American kitchen cabinet industry. For more information, visit kitchencabinetfairtrade.com.
Again, thank you all for coming. Our speakers and our CEOs will be available for some media questions at the end, and we appreciate you coming out this morning, and thank you, everybody.